Hello friends, this is Harish Nagar and today in this video lecture I am going to talk about Percy Bysshe Shelley. Now guys, he is very important writer and he was born in the year 1792 and he died in the year 1822. So remember this thing guys, he was born in 1792 and he died in the year 1822. So you can see that he lived for like 30 years, which is a very short lifespan, but still he was able to produce some of the most amazing poem of English literature. So let's first look at the biography of Shelley and then we will move at his works one by one. Guys, he went to Eton College and he was bullied throughout his childhood. So बचपन से ही उसको bully किया जाता था बहुत ज़्यादा, or and due to the bully experience that he had, he became a rebel with a human society. So he had this rebellious notion everywhere in his poem, and whether you look at his work or you look at his life, this rebel nature with the human society, this thing is always present in his poems. One more thing, he went to Oxford College, but then he never attended the college. He wrote a pamphlet called Necessity of Atheism. Atheism means people who don't believe in God, जिनको हम हिंदी में नास्तिक बोलते हैं. That's called atheism. So he said that it is necessary to be an atheist, and this pamphlet was the reason of his expulsion from college. So इस वजह से इस pamphlet की वजह से रेस्टिकेट कर दिया गया था P.B. Shelley को कॉलेज से. So he was expelled from the college and he eloped to Scotland later in his life. There he got influenced by William Godwin. William Godwin is another important essayist of this period. He was writing some really amazing political pamphlets and his daughter was Mary Godwin. He was so inspired by the ideas of democracy and freedom which he studied under William Godwin that he eloped with William Godwin's daughter, and the name of that William Godwin's daughter is Mary Shelley, and he married her later in his life. Remember guys, he also befriended Byron and Keats. We find that he was already married to Harriet. So the first wife name was Harriet. P.B. Shelley की जो पहली wife थी उसका नाम था Harriet. But this lady Harriet, she died after a period of time due to her own ideas of liberty. And after her death, he married Mary Shelley. So first he eloped with Mary Shelley. He did not marry her. But later, when his first wife Harriet died, he married Mary Shelley towards the end of his life. He went to Italy where he died due to drowning at the age of 29. So he died at the age of 29. Remember this thing guys. Now, one important thing, Byron has said for Shelley that Shelley is the most gentle, the most amiable and the least worldly minded person I ever met. This thing said by Byron about Shelley. This is a statement by Byron. Now, Karl Marx was quite influenced by Shelley's views on morality, and Leo Tolstoy and Mahatma Gandhi was quite influenced by his writing on non-violence. So, Shelley wrote a lot of works in which he had taken up the theme of non-violence, and Leo Tolstoy and Mahatma Gandhi were inspired by his views. Now, there was a question in August 2016, and the question that in honor poverty thy voice did weave songs consecrated to truth and liberty. Deserting this, thou leavest me to grieve, are lines from to Wordsworth. Who is the poet? So we know that Shelley has written a work which he has dedicated to William Wordsworth, and these lines are from that particular work. In honored poverty, thy voice did weave songs consecrated to truth and liberty. Deserting these, thou leavest me to grieve. These are the lines written by Shelley in the poem to the Wordsworth. Moving forward, there was a question in September 2013. The following are the two list of statement and poet who made them. match them correctly. So there is a statement and there is a poem and you need to match the list correctly. So out of list of statement, there was a statement which is the great instrument of moral good is the imagination, and the statement is given by Shelley. Shelley has said that imagination is a great instrument of moral goods. Now this is very easy to understand also, because if you look at his works, he is talking about liberty, freedom, morality, and how people should be non-violent. So somewhere for a writer like Shelley, moral good will be related to imagination. Imagination will help a person to be moral, right? So that's why the great instrument of moral good is imagination is the line which is written by Shelley. Now we take up the works of Shelley one by one. The first work that we are going to talk about is Necessity of Atheism, and this was published in 1811. He was expelled from his college for this work, and he has signed his work as Through Deficiency of Proof an Atheist. So this is how he signed. He did not write this his name. He signed it like Through Deficiency of Proof an Atheist. So this was a signature after the work, and he was assisted by another man. Remember the name of that man, whose name is Thomas Jefferson Howe, who along with Shelley has written the work Necessity of Atheism. Now, there was a question in June 2011, and the question says that Shelley was expelled from the Oxford University due to the publication of a work. Name the work. And the name of the work is Necessity of Atheism. The next work that we are going to talk about is An Address to the Irish People, and this was published in the year 1812. We know that Shelley visited Ireland between 1811 and 1812, and immediately he became aware of the situation of the Irish Catholics. The Constitution of Ireland has confirmed that after Irish Parliament independency, the Irish member can become member of Parliament. But in spite of this law in the Constitution, the Catholics who were living in Ireland were not allowed to be a member of Parliament, and that's the reason why these Catholics were very angry. They were very upset. So Catholics in Ireland has been second-class citizens for centuries. Just like they were treated just like SC and ST in India. So they will never treated with equal dignity or with equal opportunity. And the Act of Union, which is passed in the year 1800, when Ireland and England, both of them merged together to form the Great Britain. After the Act of Union, many people were given rights and freedom, but still guys, Catholics were not given representation in the Parliament, and that's why Shelley wrote a pamphlet in which he is appealing to the Parliament or to the people of Ireland that they should fight for the equal rights, and Catholics should be given equal opportunity in Ireland. So there was a question in June 2011. There was a question. The pamphlet on Irish condition and address to the Irish people was composed by. So the pamphlet and address to the Irish people was composed by Shelley in the year 1812. Now remember this thing, guys. The next work that we are going to talk about is Queen Mab. It is a poem, and this was first published as Demon of the World. So this was first published as Demon of the World, and it was written as a fairy tale which present a future vision of utopia. So basically guys, just like the utopian society is said to be free from all the injustice and corruptions, similarly Queen Mab ने भी एक future vision of utopia create किया है Shelley ने. There are two major themes in this work. Number one, that death should not be feared, and number two, the future offers the possibility of perfectibility. So डेथ से हमें नहीं डरना चाहिए और फ्यूचर में बहुत कुछ अच्छा होगा. These are the two major themes of Queen Mab, and the poem is about Queen Mab, who is dwelling on earth in her chariot, and she frees this spirit of Lanthe. So guys, remember Lanthe is basically a Greek mythological character, and he frees this spirit of people who are chained. So she is freeing all these chained people and take them all people to the place for utopia. So she is talking them to a very beautiful, taking all of them to a very beautiful place, which and that place was free from corruption, and that is how the poem ends. Now there was a question in July 2016. There was a question that you have to match the work with the author, and the author was Shelley and the work was Queen Mab. So as you can see from this question that we don't expect in-depth question from Queen Mab. You just need to remember that Queen Mab is a work by Shelley. That's it. Now guys, the next work of Shelley is Ulster, published in the year 1815. This work is subtitled as Spirit of Solitude, and it is dedicated to Thomas Love Peacock. Remember this guys, it is most important, and Thomas Love Peacock is another romantic writer. So this work is dedicated to Thomas Love Peacock, and Ulster, which comes from Roman mythology. It's a work from Roman mythology. It means evil genius. Now there was another question in June 2013, and the question was, which poem by Shelley bears the alliterative title The Spirit of Solitude? And the correct answer is Ulster. Now guys, in September 2013, there was another question in the following cluster of the poem by Shelley, which one has the voyage motifs? So you know that it is a poem Ulster in which we have voyage motifs. Voyage means एक sea journey के बारे में बात हो रही है. So you should remember that this particular work Ulster has voyage motifs. Now in December 2013, there was a question that which of the following is not the quest narrative? Now what is quest narrative? Quest narrative basically means an act of searching for something. So in which of the work there is a quest narrative? So this is the question, and the four options are Shelley's Ulster, Byron Mansfred, Coleridge Christabel's Keats Endymion. Now as you look at these options, you are just be talking about we are just be talking about Shelley. So जैसे कि मैंने बताया कि Shelley के Ulster में quest narrative है. क्यों है? Because voyage का motive है, and this entire poem is talking about a man going on a journey to get things, so that it's quest narrative. The only wrong answer is Coleridge Christabel, because there is no voyage motifs in Coleridge Christabel. Never in Christabel Coleridge talk about anybody going on a journey to get something. So Christabel में ऐसे कोई मतलब quest narrative नहीं है. It is about an evil character, and the name of that character is Geraldine, who gets hold of Christabel. So that's the idea behind the poem. Whereas Shelley's Ulster, Byron's Manfred, Keats Endymion, all three are quest narrative. They are talking about a person going on a quest in order to get things. Now guys, the next work that we are going to talk about is Hymn to Intellectual Beauty. And this was published in the year 1816. So basically in this poem, Hymn to Intellectual Beauty, Shelley says that beauty should not be sought in nature but in imagination. So real beauty is there in imagination but not in nature. So a very different idea in which he is saying that beauty is actually in your imagination. If you are able to think of wonderful things, if you are able to imagine some really amazing ideas, then that is what beauty is. Now guys, in next work in 1818, we have another poem by Shelley, which is Revolt of Islam. Now don't get confused guys by the title. This poem Revolt of Islam has nothing to do with Islam. This is basically based on the revolutionary ideas following the disillusionment of French Revolution. So French Revolution somewhere was a failure, and all the romantic writers, they were quite unhappy by the ending of French Revolution, and that's what he's talking about in the poem Revolt of Islam. The original title of the poem was Leon and Cantia. It's very important. It is modeled on Sultan of Ottoman Empire. Remember this thing guys. So Revolt of Islam is a poem which is modeled on the Saturn of the Sultan of the Ottoman Empire. The next work that we are going to talk about is Sensi, a tragedy in 5 acts. It is a closet drama and not a poem. The first thing that you should remember that it was published in the year 1819. It is a tragedy in 5 acts. It was inspired by a real Italian family which is called House of Sensi. So there was a real Italian family, and this work, Sensi, a tragedy in 5 acts, it was based on the real incidents of a family, and the family was called House of Sensi. This particular work was banned due to the theme of sexual activity between relatives. So father and daughter being in love, such kind of sexual activities between close relatives were one of the themes of Sensi, a tragedy in 5 acts, and that's why it was banned. Also, it has a theme of parricide, which means act of killing one's own relative. So it also has a story of a girl, and the name of that girl is Beatrice, who kills his monstrous father and suffer death penalty. So that is a major theme of Sensi, a tragedy in 5 acts. Now, in August 2016, there was a question that gave two examples of closet drama, and we had Byron's Manfred and Shelley's Sensi. These are two closet drama. We will be talking about Manfred when we will be looking at Byron, but for now you should remember that Byron's Manfred and Shelley's Sensi are two closet drama. The next work that we are going to talk about is Julian and Madalo, which is published in the year 1819, and the complete title is Julian and Madalo, a Conversation. This was inspired by a conversation which Shelley had with Byron in Venice, in which they explored different outlook on life. So basically we find that there are these three people. We have Count Madalo, we have Julian. So both these men, Julian and Madalo, they represent Shelley and Byron. So Count Madalo reflects Byron's view, and Julian's atheism and faith resemble Shelley. So we have got two men, Count Madalo and Julian. Count Madalo reflects closely Byron's view, and Julian reflection Shelley's view. So Julian and Madalo, both of them are personification of Shelley and Byron. And this was a question, and in July 2016, P.B. Shelley, Julian and Madalo is conversation between Julian and Count Madalo. Who do these two characters represent? So Julian represents Shelley and Count Madalo represent Byron. You should remember this. Julian and Madalo had a very strong influence on dramatic monologues by Robert Browning. You should also remember this thing. The next work that we are going to talk about is Mask of Anarchy, published in the year 1819. Mask of Anarchy was written after Peterloo Massacre. So it was written after Peterloo Massacre, and it is a call for freedom and first statement of principle of non-violence resistance. So you should remember that this is the work which talk about the principle of non-violence resistance, and it was written after the Peterloo Massacre. Peterloo Massacre में बहुत लोग मारे गए थे. Remember this thing. So in this massacre, Mask of Anarchy, he is talking about how people need to be free and non-violence is very important. One more thing you should remember, the epigraph has been taken from Shelley's own poem Revolt of Islam, and the epigraph says, hope is strong, justice and truth their winged child have found. So hope के दो बच्चे हैं, one is justice, another one is truth. This was the epigraph taken from poem Revolt of Islam. Now guys, the next work is Ode to the West Wind, must read work, most important for NET exam. This is a very important poem. The poem is divided in 5 sections, published in the year 1819. One of the most celebrated work of Romantic era. It has got some wonderful lines like, "Oh wind, if winter comes, can spring be far behind?" And all these lines from this poem have continuously been asked in NET exam. And there was a question in June 2012, and they asked that if dash comes, can dash be far behind? And you have to fill the blanks. So the correct answer is, if winter comes, can spring be far behind? Basically, Ode to the West Wind is a very simple poem. It talks about the idea of revolution. It talks about कि कैसे सब कुछ गलत है, पर धीरे धीरे due to all this poem, due to several changes which are being made by so many writers, एक रिवोल्यूशन की एक तूफान आएगा, एक आंधी चलेगी, एंड एवरीथिंग वुड बी चेंज एंड न्यू आइडियाज विल कम इन दिस वर्ल्ड and a new swing, a new turn will take place. So that was a major idea. The summary of this work, Ode to the West Wind, is very, very important for the NET exam. So must read the summary of Ode to West Wind. I would like you to go through the summary once and write down all the major points. You should go to the summary and wrote down all the important points. Now there was a question in December 2012. And the question was, which of the following poem use terza rima? Now you should remember this thing, that Ode to the West Wind is written in terza rima. This is a rhyme scheme which we will be talking about in detail. What is terza rima when we will be looking at literary terms. But for now you should remember that Ode to West Wind is written in terza rima. It is very important poem, and that's why we should know the rhyme and meter of this poem. In September 2014, there was a question. I fall upon the thorns of life, I bleed, expresses a pathetic cry of a wounded heart from Ode to the West Wind by Shelley. The poem consists of 14 lines and it is written in what kind of format? So the correct answer is, it is written in 14 line stanza. It is in terza rima stanza. So you should also remember this beautiful line. I fall upon the thorns of life, I bleed. In this line, he is talking about how he has lived a life which is not very satisfactory, and he feels so bad after living a life. He feels that this life has been like thorns. Thorns means jhadiyan, kaatedar jhadiyan, and these thorns have made him bleed. So that was the idea behind writing these lines. Now guys, the next work that we are going to talk about is Ozymandias, published in the year 1819. Again, a very, very important sonnet written by Shelley. You need to read the summary of Ozymandias. It's about an Egyptian Paroha. He ruled in the year 1200 BC, and this poem is talking about his statue. And his statue was broken. उसका statue जो है वो टूट चुका है. And it's also talking about how people who have reached a great point in their life, even they have to face death, and after that even their statue will be dismantled. They will not be able to celebrate. The poem was written in a friendly competition with Horace Smith, and it was published in Examiner magazine. Since Ozymandias is a very, very important poem, it's important that you remember a few other things about this poem, like it was written in a friendly composition with Horace Smith, and it was published in Examiner magazine. Because see, that people will take it for granted that you must be knowing the summary of Ozymandias, since it's such an important poem, but they will try to put up question not from the summary but from other places, so that the student even after reading the poem is not able to answer correctly. The next work that we are going to talk about is Prometheus Unbound. It is a 4-act lyrical drama. It was published in the year 1820. It concerns with the torment of Prometheus at the hands of Zeus. Hope guys, I am sure that you must be aware of the story of Prometheus. Prometheus is a man who was chained by Zeus, and he was tortured. So Prometheus stands for entire humanity. And this poem, Prometheus Unbound, has been taken from Achilles. Achilles has written 2 poems. One was Prometheus and the other was Prometheus Unbound. But Prometheus Unbound was lost. The work written by Achilles, Prometheus Unbound, was lost. And Shelley has tried to rework on this theme, Prometheus Unbound. And he has to write this lyrical drama. It's also a closet drama, you should understand. And we finally find that Prometheus toward the end is released by Demogorgon, who overthrown the tyrant Jove. So Prometheus stands for mankind. He has been chained by Zeus, and there is a person called Demogorgon who rescues and releases Prometheus from the chains. So this is how Prometheus Unbound is written. Now guys, there was a question in December 2004, and the question asked that to suffer which hope thinks infinite. This line is written by, and the correct answer is Shelley. Shelley has written this line, and this line has been taken from Prometheus Unbound. Now in August 2016, there was a question that you had to match the character with the author. So Shelley was the author and he has created a character Prometheus. He has talked about the character Prometheus rather, because Prometheus has not been written by anybody. It was written by Achilles and it is a figure from Greek mythology. But Shelley has talk about Prometheus. So remember this thing, guys. Moving forward to the next work by Shelley, and the next work name is To a Skylark, which was written in the year 1820. If you have read the comic play Blitz Spirit by Noel Coward, I'm sure that you can know from where the title has been taken from. Blitz Spirit has been taken from Shelley's To the Skylark, and Thomas Hardy was so inspired by this poem that he has written a work called Shelley's Skylark. Thomas Hardy has written Shelley's Skylark, inspired from To a Skylark, written by Shelley. Remember this thing. It has a gorgeous, beautiful line. Remember the line. Our sweetest songs are those that tell of saddest thought. Our sweetest song are those that tells of saddest thought. This is a line from the poem To the Skylark. There was a question in December 2010 which asked that which famous romantic poem began with the line, "Hail to thee, blithe spirit, bird thou never wert," and the poem is To the Skylark by Shelley. Now, in December 2013, there was a question, teach me half of the gladness that thy brain must know. Such harmonious madness from my lips would flow. The world should listen then, as I am listening now. Whose line are these? To whom are they addressed? So these lines are written by Shelley and they are addressed to Skylark in the poem To the Skylark. So remember this thing. And there was another question in December 2014. There was a question in which you had to match the word with the poet. So there are two romantic poets and other poets like Seamus Heaney and Ted Hughes, who have written about animals and birds, and they were given a list of poets and a list of birds and animals, and you have to match. So the poet was P.B. Shelley and the bird was Skylark. So Shelley has written a work on Skylark. You should remember this thing. Moving forward, we are just moving towards the end of the video lecture. The next work of Shelley is A Defense of Poetry, written in the year 1821. It is an essay and it contains Shelley's famous line, "Poets are the unacknowledged legislator of the world." This is a line from an essay, A Defense of Poetry, written by Shelley in the year 1821. You don't need to read this essay, just remember this line. This line has been taken from A Defense of Poetry. Don't get confused, guys, with the essay, which resemble the same idea like an apology for poetry and all this kind of stuff. So don't get this thing mixed with those work. You should remember that A Defense of Poetry is an essay written by Shelley. Now we are moving to the next work by Shelley, that is Adonais. Now this is important work written in 1821. Adonais is subtitled as Adonis, an elegy on the death of John Keats, author of Endymion, Hyperion, etc. This is a pastoral elegy written in Spenserian stanza. I would like you to write this down. Adonais is written in Spenserian stanza. It is dedicated to Thomas Chatterton. When I was talking about pre-romantic, I mentioned that this chap is died at a very, very young age. Just after his teenage, he died. And in this work, Adonais, he has dedicated this poem to Thomas Chatterton. So basically, this poem is one of the most celebrated work. It is one of the most celebrated pastoral elegy, just like Milton's Lycidias. Similarly, Shelley's Adonais is very celebrated work, but still Shelley regarded Adonais as least imperfect work written by him. Remember these lines, remember this phrase. He says Adonais as least imperfect work written by him. And there are a lot of references of Greek god Adonis. Adonis is the god of fertility. So this poem is about John Keats, and there is a lot of references of the god of fertility, Greek Adonis. He calls on Urania to mourn for Keats. So वो यूरेनिया को बुलाता है कि किट्स के लिए वो रोए, जो कि एक म्यूज है. So he is so unhappy by the death of John Keats that he invites muses to weep along with him. And then he says that towards the end of the poem, he says that we should not mourn as Keats have not gone anywhere. He has gone to a world where hate, envy, pain cannot touch him. So we should be happy that Keats has gone to a world where all these negative things cannot touch him, and he will keep on glowing like a star, and humanity and the future generation will keep on celebrating his works. So that's the idea. Now guys, there was a question in January 2017. There was a question: who among the following Greek philosopher has a bearing on the composition of Shelley's Adonius? So Shelley के Adonius में Plato का बहुत ज़्यादा important role है. Remember this thing. So you should remember that Plato is a Greek philosopher who has a bearing on the composition of Shelley's Adonius. And this was a question of January 2017. In June 2017, they gave a line from the poem Adonius, and they asked that these lines occur in which poem. The lines were: life like a doom of many-colored glass stains the white radiance of eternity until death tramples it to fragments. So very simple line in which he is saying that life is like a glass जहां से बहुत सारे कलर्स निकलते हैं, and there is a white color which represent eternity, but when death comes everything is broken into fragments. Now in June 2009 there was another question that asked match the following elegies with the person for whom they were written. So we have got a list of people for whom the elegies were written and the list of elegies. So Adonius was correctly matched with Keats. So Adonius was written by Shelley for Keats. Remember this thing. So on the death of John Keats, Shelley wrote this work. Finally, we moving on to the last work that we are going to discuss in this video lecture, and that is Trump of Life, published in the year 1822. This was a work which he left unfinished, and he modeled the poem on Petrarch's Theophany and Dante Divine's Comedy. This poem is modeled on two classical works. Remember this thing. One is Petrarch's Theophany and Dante's Divine Comedy, and this was left unfinished. And it is also, this poem is written in terza rima. Terza rima is the rhyme scheme. Now, there was a question in June 2009, and the question says that they gave a list of poems: Wordsworth Recluse, Shelley's Trump of Life, Byron's Don Juan, and Keats' Hyperion. And they asked that what is common in all these four poems. So till now we have discussed Wordsworth and Shelley. So we know that Recluse and Trump of Life both are unfinished poems. So the correct answer is that all these are unfinished poems. So hope you guys understand this lecture. Now after this Trump of Life, this is the last work I am discussing. So with that I end my video lecture on P.B. Shelley. And remember one more thing guys, you have to read three works in detail, namely Ozymandias, which was published in the year 1880, Ode to West Wind, this was 1819 published, and To the Skylark 1820. These three works which you have to go through their summary in detail. So guys, that's it for today's lecture. Thank you very much.